I imagine from a fleet's perspective, like you've got to manage a couple different stakeholders in safety. You want to keep your drivers safe, you want to keep your equipment safe, and you also have a responsibility to the public to keep them safe. So, how are you handling this data avalanche that must be coming at you now with all of those cameras? And how are you managing that in such a way that enables you to really take care of all three of those stakeholders in the business?
Yeah, at the beginning you said I was born into the industry, which I was. My father was a driver back in the 70s, and I was the reason he got off the road when I was born. He decided to jump into the office, and so I grew up in the industry. I shouldn't say this, but I'm almost 40 years old. So I have seen the industry go quite a ways. And it was kind of nice, back in the old days, as we call them, the driver would literally just call in on a payphone, say, all right, I'm going to try to make it to Dallas, Texas tonight. And that was it. There he goes. You don't know if he'll make it until tomorrow when he calls in. But now, like you said, we have so much data. I mean, it's almost overwhelming how much data we have access to. We can see in real time where the driver's at. We've got things on our trucks here. I can see how much fuel they have in their truck. I can see if their APU is running. I can see how much depth. I can see how speed. If they have a check engine light, I can see why the check engine light is on. I mean, it's unbelievable what we have just from that component. Then you take like the e-logs, and we got all that data coming in. So I can see if they're over their hours, if they're coming close to their hours. And then you throw in the dash cams on top of that. You throw in the side cams. It's completely overwhelming, but it's data that is so needed. And when it comes to protecting the public, I mean, that's what we have to evaluate is all that data we get in there to make sure that the driver is within his legal limit to drive, because they only have a certain amount of hours per day to drive. So we make sure that they're in that legal limit. And then we can review the dash cam. Once a week, I put out a safety update video to all of our drivers. And one of the components in that is we go over dash cam video from our fleet. It's not like that crazy YouTube dash cam stuff you see. It's real world situations that our drivers have faced. Like this last week, it was one where a car was trying to cut our driver off. And so we walk through that dash cam footage and I go through it and I say, okay, what would you do in this situation? If a car was coming in, they're not the professional driver. You are. So I put it on our drivers to say, what would you do in this situation? Because you're the professional. And so we are able to review that and they can start thinking of all those situations that they've been in and watching this situation and figuring out what they would do exactly. And that has helped tremendously, just not necessarily because the drivers don't know what to do, but it just kind of helps reiterate the fact that there's a lot of crazy drivers on the road. I don't know if you've seen them lately, but they are crazy. It seems like ever since COVID happened, people got used to the roads being kind of empty and now they're not empty anymore. And so they're getting nuts out there again. I don't know. That's just my conspiracy theory going. But anyways, but it's really beneficial for our drivers to review that dash cam footage. And like I said, I can look at their e-logs and say, hey, you look like you've been driving for a while. Are you getting tired? Are you okay? So all that data, we process all of it. I mean, we put it in our system and we look at it all. And because of that, then we can really make good decisions on where our drivers are at, what they should be doing, and keeping everyone safe in the process.
Yeah, and that trading component, I think that's so important. You made the comment, these are professional drivers and they kind of have a higher standard that they have to drive to. But when I think of like professional athletes, right, they practice all the time. They spend more time practicing than they do out on the field or on the rink. And so, if you want to be the best at what you do, then you've got to practice. And that training environment where you can look at real world scenarios, that's just like watching the play-by-play after a game and evaluating what we could do differently to be more effective and to win. So I think that's a fantastic use of that. And I'm sure that over time, as the drivers see you using that video footage for that purpose, they start to appreciate the value of it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I tell them.